From the studios of Tucson Business Radio X, recorded in the Stewart Title corporate offices on Broadway, you are now listening to The Mark Bishop Show. And now here's your host, Mark Bishop.
And welcome to another Mark Bishop Show. Interesting topic on this one. Marissa Price. She's a senior strategist for People for Ethical Treatment of Animals, PETA for short. Her work focuses on equipping activists to lead animal rights protests, speak publicly about animal issues, and advocate for animal-friendly policies in colleges and universities across North America. She's been interviewed by the New York Post, the Washingtonian, among other news outlets, and now on the Mark Bishop Show. Welcome, Marissa.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for having me.
Well, the meat and leather industries are causing fires raging in the Amazon. And apparently a recent analysis of the food system's impact on the environment stated that massive reductions in meat eating are essential in order to avoid further catastrophic climate change. How likely is this to happen, Marissa? I mean, the world loves its meat.
Well, like you mentioned, the science is clear that we do need a global shift to vegan eating. Animal agriculture is one of the leading causes of climate change, and it is the leading cause of deforestation in the Amazon and elsewhere. The fires in the Amazon rainforest were intentionally set to clear land for the cattle industry. And a lot of people are learning about this and are already making changes to their daily habits and their daily meal preferences. We're seeing a huge increase of vegan food in restaurant chains, fast food chains, and supermarkets across the country and the world. So it's really never been easier to make a switch to a vegan diet, and it is the single best way to fight climate change.
Well, in nearly every step of meat, egg, and milk production, climate-changing gases are released into the atmosphere. I think more and more people are starting to realize that now. It does disrupt weather temperature and the overall health of our ecosystem. You say that eating meat is the second biggest environmental hazard facing the planet, while a vegan diet has one of the smallest waters, land, and carbon footprints. Do you have any idea of the stats, Marissa, at all, of meat eaters turning vegan, perhaps in America?
I'm not sure the exact numbers currently, but we have seen an exponential explosion of people going vegan and also just making steps towards a vegan diet and lifestyle. For many people, habits may not change overnight, habits that they've been ingrained with their whole lives. And that's okay, because it's a movement in the right direction. And more, these options are becoming more available at places that we already frequent. For example, there are now delicious vegan burgers that look and taste like beef called the Beyond Burger, available at Carl's Jr., at Hardee's, TGI Fridays. Now Dunkin' Donuts has a vegan sausage biscuit sandwich. And Subway is coming out with a vegan meatball sub as well. So these options are becoming more prevalent, and as people are learning the facts, they are really making a change in their lifestyle.
You know, when you first hear all of these various, other types of products they're coming out with, I think you turn your nose up, but until you've actually tried them, it's quite surprising how tasty they are, really.
Yeah. Have you tried the Beyond Burger yourself?
Not that particular one, but other things. Listen, hasn't recent advancements in textiles, they've made vegan leather options nearly indistinguishable from animal-derived leather. I mean, which makes the breeding, raising, killing, and skinning of animals for leather entirely unnecessary, if that comes about.
Yes, that's correct. Leather is devastating to the environment, as is the meat, dairy, and egg industries. And with leather, it really does go hand in hand with the meat industry in the amount of land that is degraded and cleared, the amount of energy and water that is used. And then leather takes it one step further. And in order to return skin into leather requires significant energy and dangerous chemicals, including formaldehyde, coal, and tar derivatives, and cyanide-based oils, dyes, and finishes. So, like you mentioned, these recent advancements in textiles, you really can't tell the difference in many cases between an animal-derived leather and a vegan leather. And these are becoming available at stores everywhere, whether it's stores in the mall that you may already shop at, or Target, or if you wanted even a designer handbag, for example, you can find a vegan designer handbag as well.
Well, we see on the news all the devastation going on in the Amazon. And from a viewer's point of view, the man in the street, the layman, every day, you're looking at all this clearing going on, and we hear nothing but the lungs of the world, which are critical for us in reference to our oxygen worldwide, what with all the other pollution. And it's all for grazing. I mean, used for meat production or for growing food for cattle, and for the U.S. market. I mean, it's a double standard, right, isn't it? I mean, you look on one hand and it's wrong. You look on the other hand, we need it. Or do we?
Right. Well, eating meat today is completely unnecessary because it's proven to not only be killing our planet and speeding up global warming, which will affect all of us, but it's also very harmful to human health. Going vegan is the best way to reduce your likelihood of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, certain forms of cancer, and obesity and high blood pressure. And there's no cholesterol in plant-based vegan foods. Cholesterol only exists in meat, dairy, and egg products. So that's another issue that's very important for many people, is lowering their cholesterol and blood pressure, which are linked. And a vegan diet is the best way to reduce that and healthier health. So all of this environmental degradation, this destruction of, like you say, the Amazon rainforest, known as the lungs of the world, is completely unnecessary. And luckily, each one of us holds an immense amount of power to really vote with our dollar, really support these vegan companies of vegan alternatives, or even just produce, instead of supporting the meat, dairy, and egg industries. And we will see a change, as we already are.
Well, I think if more people could have a taste, could be given a sample, maybe they just convert. You never know. Marissa, give me your version about the effects of climate change on us and the environment.
Well, animal agriculture, like I mentioned, is a major contributor to climate change, as well as water pollution, deforestation, and land degradation. This land has to be cleared for these animals to be raised, and that doesn't even include all of the land that is cleared to grow food to feed the animals. In the U.S., it's estimated that farm animals are fed more than 70% of the grains that are grown in the U.S. And the calorie conversion, about the amount of calories of grains that are being fed to the animal, and the animal is slaughtered and killed for meat for humans to consume, the calorie conversion is not there. We're losing calories here, which means it's a very ineffective and very unsustainable source of calories and protein. So our earth and our health and the animals are all much better off if we can opt out of meat, dairy, and eggs and switch to taking advantage of these delicious, healthy vegan options that are now so plentiful.
Well, there's another side to it as well, of course. I once saw a TED Talk, I think it was on, Marissa, where this guy actually showed the effects of cow dung in animal agriculture impacted the climate. And that was quite an eye-opener for me as well, I can assure you.
Yes, that's a really great point. There's some really great documentaries to watch about the animal agriculture industry. One is What the Health, and another is a really great one, Cowspiracy. And Cowspiracy handles the environment, and it does talk about the animal waste from these farms as well. And if you think of a typical city, we have waste management for humans' waste, But a typical farm has millions of animals on it, and there isn't a waste management system. So it's just everywhere, and it pollutes the groundwater. It creates toxic runoff when mixed with all the chemicals that the farm uses, as well as the cows will produce methane gas, which helps to heat up the world and help cause climate change as well. And the only reason we have this many animals is because they are being bred in the animal agriculture industry. It's not like these animals just are breeding naturally. So it's a self-inflicted problem that we've created.
Well, I remember the time when, fox furs and garments and so on, when that was brought to a big halt. We're talking, and still people, demand crocodile leather and other skins of other animals because of the beauty they make in products. But share more about the leather industry's impact on climate and what you believe is the answer overall.
The answer overall is to just not support the animal agriculture industry, which includes the leather industry as well. It is a simple, it's a simple thing, really, is switching our diet to a vegan diet and not buying leather products. Really, anything that comes from an animal is unsustainable because these animals are bred and then raised and then slaughtered and then processed for meat or dairy or eggs or leather. And just the entire system of raising these billions of animals each year for slaughter is completely unsustainable, and that's why animal agriculture is one of the leading causes of global warming. So with leather, it goes hand in hand with the meat industry and is just as responsible for clearing forests as the meat industry and just as responsible for killing animals. These products are unnecessary. Luckily, now in 2019, we have incredible alternatives. Many of them have been around for a while, but many of them are new, and they are much more readily available at stores and restaurants that we all frequent in our daily lives.
Well, it makes you think, that's for sure. I mean, you've touched a lot on the leather. Any other realistic changes that people can incorporate into their lives, do you think, to help the effects of climate change overall in closing?
So just back to the point of switching to a vegan diet is the single best thing that you can do for the environment and your health and animals. And researchers at the University of Chicago actually determined that switching to a vegan diet is much more effective in countering climate change than switching from a standard American car to a hybrid. So if you felt like you needed to go out and buy a brand new hybrid car, maybe hold off on that and try to switch to a vegan diet instead. And same thing with water. Sometimes we hear about people, must take shorter showers for the environment. And I'm not saying necessarily that you shouldn't do that, but I am saying that a single individual could save more water by not eating 1 pound of beef than they would by not showering for 6 months.
Wow. I'd
much rather take the showers and the burgers.
I've never seen it that way before, but living in the desert as I do, and we're water conscious as it is, but mate, take away that lovely steak off the grill. I don't know. No, I'm with you. You made a lot of sense, and I tell you what, it's food for thought. Excuse the pun, but your job, I mean, PETA, PETA.org, it's a not-for-profit, right?
Yes, we're a nonprofit organization.
A nonprofit organization. I mean, you got a heck of a job. You speak publicly about animal issues. You're an activist, but a good one. And you advocate for animal-friendly policies in colleges and universities across America. Do you ever get to the Southwest at all?
Not lately. I do spend a bit of time in Southern California for work as well. But I do think we plan on going to maybe Arizona State University sometime in the near future. And there's some great student activists there.
That's ASU. That right?
Yes,
yeah.
ASU.
AS who? It's a standard joke up against U of A here in Tucson, Arizona, you see. A is who?
We'll have to look at U of A. I'm sure they're equally great.
Oh, yeah. There's a few down here. Don't worry about that. All righty. Well, listen, good luck with what you're doing. I mean, it's a heck of a job. Do you ever get stuff thrown at you at all by people, those with closed minds?
Physically thrown or verbally?
Both, for that matter.
I've never had anything physically thrown, so verbally, we're advocating for a big change. Most people weren't raised vegan, and myself included. Most people have PETA included,
right?
And I think ultimately, we all think people are good, and people don't like animals being hurt, and they don't like the environment being in peril. So, I believe in people making the right decision once they know the information and they have options available, ultimately. And we're all in this together. Global warming will affect all of us. And it's just in the next 30 years, it's estimated that hundreds of millions of people may be displaced because of global warming, with the rising sea levels, temperatures, droughts, wildfires, things like that. So we're all in this together. So if people haven't made the change in the past, maybe it seemed like a faraway issue, maybe it seemed more theoretical. It's now. It's here. It's now. It's immediate. It's a global catastrophe that we really all have to work together to fix. And I believe that we can, because we're already seeing incredible change in policy and in vegan options being available, and companies that previously, for example, I just saw an article, a dairy farm is closing the dairy farm and instead is pivoting the whole company to be an almond milk facility. So, I believe that we can make a change because we already are making the change.
Well, I wanted to close, but that does lead to another question. What happens to the poor dairy farmers? What do they do for a job? The usual thing you're going to get with that. Can they be given, and would they turn to other forms of agriculture, do you think?
Many of them are turning to other forms of agriculture because, in the United States, as with many other economies in the world, it's a capitalistic economy. So the market is driven by consumer demand. And we, throughout history have seen things come into the market and we've seen things leave based on what consumers want to purchase or not. And the reason that we have billions of farm animals that are bred and raised and slaughtered each year was because there was great demand for it. But now we're seeing that demand is shifting and people are demanding there to be vegan options available. So a lot of companies are pivoting as well, and these farmers are learning to pivot and meet the demand for the society. And I don't think anyone wants to see anyone out of a job, but also this is a global catastrophe. And since farming, animal agriculture is one of the leading causes of global warming, I think it's really all up to us to work together for some smart solutions, which is being worked on.
You're dead right. Well, Marissa Price is a senior strategist for People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, PETA. Have a look at their site, PETA.org, O-R-G, PETA.org. And she speaks publicly across America. Maybe you want to get in touch with her in reference to speaking in your neck of the woods. Marissa, lovely. Thank you for taking the time out, and I wish you well in your travels.
Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you for having me.